Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. Something is happening right now that could change gold and silver forever. Not just for investors, not just for central banks, but for literally everyone on the planet. The way we think about precious metals could be on the verge of a transformation unlike anything we've seen before. But before I get into that, let's take a look at what's happening in the markets right now. Because the price action alone is historic. Gold futures just closed above $3,900 for the first time in history. Year to date, gold is up more than 48%. This rally has blown past the most optimistic Wall Street forecasts and shows no signs of slowing down. We are currently living through the most explosive bull market in gold that most of us will see in our lifetimes. And it's not just gold. Silver just had its highest daily close in 14 years, finishing Friday just under $48 an ounce after briefly trading above $48 intraday. On September 30th, silver logged its highest quarterly close ever. And that is huge because on the long-term chart, it confirmed a breakout from a massive cup and handle pattern that's been building since the 1980 nominal high. Silver is already up 64% year to date, and it's now less than $3 away from setting a brand new all-time high. While this zone might provide some resistance, the chart is screaming that a major breakout is underway. And despite the huge rally in gold and silver thus far, the gold to silver ratio still remains above 80, suggesting huge upside still remains. This bull market isn't just being driven by investors, it's central banks fueling demand too. In August alone, central banks added 15 tons of gold to their reserves. China has been on a relentless buying spree for 10 straight months, and both Russia and China are actively working to establish independent gold exchanges that operate outside of Western financial control. These moves underscore a global shift. Gold is becoming the foundation of trade and reserves in a world that's rapidly de-dollarizing. At the same time, the United States is drowning in debt, now over $37.7 trillion. The recent government shutdown has only added to expectations of further Fed rate cuts, and the Fed has already begun easing, even as M2 money supply sits at record highs. Markets hover near record levels, and metals break out to fresh highs. This is a perfect storm. Ballooning deficits, loose monetary policy, and global demand are all pushing gold and silver higher. So yes, the fundamentals for gold and silver have never looked stronger. But here's the thing. All of these forces, de-dollarization, fiat debasement, exploding debt, central bank purchases, these drive people to gold and silver as a safe haven. And I believe in gold and silver as a safe haven. That's why I stack physical gold and silver bullion. But what I want to show you next is something entirely different. It's about completely rewriting how investors and the population at large interact with precious metals and commodities. Just this past week, Robinhood's CEO described tokenization of real-world assets as an unstoppable freight train coming to markets. He believes tokenization will become the default way people gain exposure to assets worldwide. And that insight matters for gold and silver because tokenization doesn't just treat them as safe havens. It unlocks their monetary utility and it makes them accessible to millions of people who have never had an easy way to own or transact with them before. This could be the most bullish development of all. And with this boom in precious metals, I believe I may have just come across a Netflix versus Blockbuster type moment. This could be one of the most monumental and significant developments in gold and commodities we have ever seen. Everybody understands how Blockbuster's business model became totally obsolete and outdated when Netflix offered the exact same content but through streaming. The mechanism of delivery dramatically improved. The product was upgraded. The experience of the end consumer was so positive, like night and day, that Blockbuster went out of business and Netflix went from launching its first stream to becoming one of the largest companies on earth. From $1 per share in 2002 to $1,200 per share today. ETFs made gold trading accessible to a much larger audience in the 2000s, in much the same way that Blockbuster branches made movies accessible to cinema goers. But the next revolution that could make the ETFs of today obsolete or greatly challenged by better new competitors might be here. Gold is experiencing a bull market that has shocked many, and the available ETFs on the market right now turn away so many who don't trust the audits, who don't believe that they're fully backed by the underlying metals, or who live in dozens of countries where the ETFs are just not available to trade. These are massive problems that the ETF providers know are their weaknesses. The largest gold ETF manages more than $120 billion and growing. Yet what I'm about to show you might be the biggest disruptor to their business model since inception. As I said, the biggest weaknesses they face are doubts about not being fully backed, doubts about their auditing and the underlying metal vaults not being accessible to hundreds of millions of investors that reside in developing markets, and they charge a fee for managing. Billionaire mining tycoon Frank Gustra, along with who I consider to be a mining legend, Sean Rusin, are well aware of the opportunity in disrupting the current ETF providers with a fully backed, vaulted, audited, verified, yield-bearing financial product, which could be accessible the world over. And Frank Gustra just heavily invested to the tune of owning 17 million shares of a Nasdaq-listed company called Streamex, ticker symbol STEX, the sponsor of today's video, aiming to revolutionize the industry of owning precious metals and commodities in general by commercializing fully backed, vaulted, audited, and verified ownership of gold and other leading commodities. Again, ticker symbol STEX on the Nasdaq. It's a Netflix versus Blockbuster moment, in my view, and it seems that billionaires like Frank Gustra, who owns $90 million worth of STEX right now, agree. Streamex wants to do to commodities ETFs what Netflix did to movies and TV shows, what Apple did to music and phones. They want to dramatically improve the user experience and make it simpler, easier, and better, and offer it globally. Right now, Streamex is just lining up the last details before launching its first product, the fully backed, yield-bearing Gold 1. On top of the major position that Frank Gustra, one of the premier gold entrepreneurs ever, owns, the two co-founders each own 21 million shares worth just north of $100 million, so significant skin in the game for the people leading this revolution. For years, I've been hearing from people that ETFs are not ideal for them, hard or impossible to trust because of the backing or the auditing of them, and sometimes because of the management fees and premiums. Streamex is launching a potential game changer, and if I compare it metaphorically to Netflix, this is like before they launched their first ever streaming, because Streamex is just about to launch their first product to the global market. The company has secured up to $1.1 billion in funding through a mix of equity, convertible debentures, and a line of credit led by Cantor Fitzgerald, the company that was run by Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, and now managed by his sons. This funding will allow the company to draw upon and should purchase physical gold to back their products, as well as to likely add to their own balance sheet. In other words, Streamex, ticker STEX on the Nasdaq, would very likely be one of the first publicly traded companies to own gold on their books, a very welcomed change. Their vision is to launch several gold products and then expand to silver and others. Commodities are ripe for a fintech revolution compared with today's ETFs. For years, I've heard, even from Warren Buffett, that owning gold does not earn a yield. And now, Streamex has pioneered a product that will produce yield, so the owner will essentially get paid to own gold. The proprietary platform Streamex developed attracted as their chief investment officer, Mr. Mitchell Williams, who not only ran WAFRA, the Kuwaiti Sovereign Wealth Fund, but also one of the sole portfolio managers for Oppenheimer's flagship value fund. The yield-bearing token is a partnership with Monetary Metals, one of the behemoths in the gold leasing industry. The platform itself was developed by the same software experts that built cybersecurity infrastructure for Capital One Bank, Bank of America, and JP Morgan's credit card processing infrastructure business, one of the largest fintech platforms in the world. The token will be on the Solana and Coinbase's Base blockchain, and as you well know, tokenization of real-world assets is the biggest and most important financial disruption of our times. From Nasdaq to Robinhood and all of the major financial companies, most are scrambling to upgrade their offerings to the chain because it potentially opens 24/7 trading on a global scale and democratizes the access of every investor in the world to many more products. This is a Netflix versus Blockbuster moment or a Nokia versus iPhone moment, in my opinion, and I wanted to make you fully aware of this at the ground floor level because we all know the drawbacks of the current ETFs. We all know gold's bull market has sent its price to its highest ever, and that Frank Gustra has positioned in Streamex to the tune of $90 million before they launched their first product, which is coming in short order, and that Cantor Fitzgerald was instrumental in securing up to $1.1 billion in financing for Streamex to draw upon and begin purchasing physical gold bars. Streamex seeks to be a fintech tokenization giant. This is inception, and a major revolution could be underway. Do your research on Streamex, which looks to disrupt the current giants in commodities ETFs with fully backed, audited, and verified ownership, redeemable, and secured. Of course, don't go out and buy this stock just because you heard about it here. Make sure you do your own due diligence. A great place to start is streamex.com. There's a link down in the description, so check them out. And let me know what you think about the gold bull market and the future of gold tokenization. Leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and happy stacking, and I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.